This is the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast. For help with your retirement, schedule a 15-minute phone conversation with the team at ProStatus Financial Advisors today. Just call 866-597-1040 and at thesavvyinvestorradio.com.
Welcome back to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and Podcast with Mike Kinnett and Ryan Herbert at ProStatus Financial. Hey, if it's time to talk about your retirement, time to talk about your 401k, let's get something down on paper. Let's get some analysis for you. Give us a call, 866-597-1040, or use our website, which is thesavvyinvestorradio.com. The one thing that everybody brings to the table for the most part is their 401k. What do we do with that 401k once we get into retirement? Mike, we can leave it there. We can roll it out. We can cash it out. What are the ups and downs of everything with our 401ks?
You know, it's amazing. People spend so much time growing the money, right? I mean, and that's the big thing. For most people, the biggest nest egg is their 401k. So it's an important part of your financial future. And most 401ks, you know, most companies have an advisor attached to the 401k, and yet the advisor's never there giving any advice. And what ends up happening, these guys go to dinner seminars, and like you said, they talk to their cousin or somebody across from the water fountain. And what that person did, okay, it sounds good, and not understanding the nuances. From our perspective, taking the money from your 401k to an IRA when you leave or when you're 59 and a half makes sense, except for when it doesn't, right? I mean, so there's a big but what if, and it's truly understanding the nuances. So the bottom line is, you know, when you leave your employer, take your money with you because, you know, you don't really have a relationship with the employer anymore. They don't care about you anymore. You don't care about them anymore, all those things. So roll your money over. That makes sense. You know, most 401ks, you have 10 to 15 choices of what to invest in, for better, for worse. The IRA world, you have literally thousands and thousands of choices. So perhaps some paralysis by analysis, but okay, we get better choices. Your 401ks, believe it or not, you do not know the fees you're paying. You're using mutual funds, so they're much more expensive than you truly think they are. And in the world of IRAs, you get to pick and choose what expenses.
For better or worse.
For better, for worse, same thing. You know, you can hire an advisor if you want. You get stuck with an advisor who never actually talks to you when you have a 401k. IRAs, you get to choose if you want an advisor. There's some tax opportunities that you have with IRAs, especially for legacy planning, that you may or may not have with your employer. So taking it out for all those reasons makes sense. Having said that, it does not make sense to get to 59 and a half or 60 or, you know, whenever you're leaving your employer and just saying on a Tuesday afternoon, I'm retiring Friday, I'm going to fill out the paperwork and roll it over. There are so many ramifications. You know, I have this doctor. He worked with Fidelity. You know, our clients have Fidelity accounts as well. And he worked for Fidelity, and the 401k was at Fidelity. And he went to Fidelity and said, hey, I need to roll over my 401k. And it had about $3.5 million in it. So it was a big 401k. And the Fidelity guy did exactly what the Fidelity guy was supposed to do. And he said, sure, we can roll it over. You already have an existing IRA. We'll just drop it right in there. And he did that. And everything went smooth, easy. They allocated. Everything was fine. Until the doctor listened to the radio show. And he drove all the way from his Bethesda home to our Bethesda office. And we sit down and have a conversation. And we're looking at his 401k and we're talking about it. And he's explaining to me that he needs to take out $300,000 cash from this IRA. And he's going to buy a house, put a down payment on a house down in Florida, because that's where he's going to live part of the year. And that makes perfect sense. And we start talking about, but if you take all this money out of the IRA, you're going to pay tax on it. So we need to think about how that's going to work. And maybe we want to do it strategically. And then he says to me, oh, I don't need to worry about that. I've been making contributions to my IRA for decades and have non-deductible contributions I've made, and I must have $400,000 or $500,000 of after-tax dollars where I never got a tax deduction for putting into the IRA. Well, we got a problem now, because when you look at the IRA, it doesn't tell you that. So I asked him for the forms. There's IRS forms you have to file every year, and whatever CPA he was using in the past had never filled them out. Now, I'm not going to blame the CPA for that. Maybe the doctor didn't tell him about it. But nevertheless, we have this huge basis in the IRA. But wait, just like Ginsu knives, it gets worse, right? So here's what happens to this guy. I explained to him, because he's thinking he's going to take out $400,000 and call it a day. Well, that's not how it works. Once he commingled it, we have a nightmare. We have an absolute nightmare. And so it took us a year to clean the money. And you can see me doing air quotes, but you know, to cleanse the money, where we literally had to have him go back to work, set up a 401k. We had to roll all his pre-tax dollars out of his IRA into a 401k so that we could have his after-tax dollars still left in his 401k so that we could then get the after-tax dollars out. Because if he took it out while they were commingled, huge tax bill, can't get the money out. And the problem is he did not have somebody who truly understand the tax implications of the recommendations that were being given. And that's one thing that drives Ryan and I crazy about our industry. You have all these guys out there making investment recommendations, saying, yes, I'm a fiduciary, go ahead and roll your money over, and not understanding the implications of that.
Now, Ryan, let me ask you this. There's a difference between the words rolling it, going from one custodian to the next, and taking the money. Some people will say, hey, just send me the check. What are the ups and downs of that? What do we have to know?
Well, the rollover is tax-free, meaning it goes from, the 401k company over to the IRA company, and it's tax-free. You don't pay money on the transfer, but the withdrawal is not something that we come across too often, I would say, but that's where you're just saying, give me all of my money, cut me a check, and drop it into my bank account. And that's not something that happens a whole lot when people leave their employment. Really what we see is people will do these withdrawals when they want to buy a beach house. They want to buy an RV. They want to buy that bucket list item that they've
or pay off their house. They think they need to pay their house off.
Pay off the house. And, last year we had a tax client. Tax client been coming to us for years and years and years. He had some military time in with the government. So he had a lot of money in his TSP from the military. And he was thinking that, I bought this beach house and I've got about $250,000 worth of debt left on the beach house. And he was in his early 60s. So he was over 59 and a half. So he was able to take the money out without paying penalty. But he said, I intend to work a couple more years, but by running out my budget, I figured out that if I pay off my beach house, I can retire when I want with my pensions, with my Social Security, and make all this happen. And he calls me up and says, Ryan, why do I owe money on this money that I took out? When I talked to the people at TSP, they withheld money for taxes. I shouldn't be paying extra tax. I'm paying tax on tax dollars. And I said, no, that's not how it works. When you called up TSP, you said, hey, I want to take out $250,000. What should I do for taxes? And they said, well, people your age, people in your situation would normally withhold 15% federal taxes and 5% state of Maryland taxes. So that's what they did, and they sent that tax off. They were completely ignoring the fact that you're already receiving your military pension. They're completely ignoring the fact that your wife is working, collecting a salary. They're completely ignoring your salary working for the federal government, and they're just saying, if we took out this money, your tax bracket should be around 15% and 6% to the state of Maryland, completely ignoring the fact that once they took this $250,000 out, they added it to the already $250,000 of income. So instead of paying tax at 15%, they were paying tax at 28% overall. So they were under withholding. And he was just so amazed that the people who are managing this money for him in his eyes, the people who are keeping track of the money in his eyes, gave him such bad advice. And it's not just when you leave the money in a 401k. It's not just money you leave it in the TSP. It is when people choose to work with advisors that don't understand the tax ramifications of the very advice that they're giving. You're putting all of this money away inside of your 401k, inside of your TSP, inside of your IRA. You want to make sure that not only you're making the best investment decisions possible for you, but you want to make sure that you're making the right tax decisions for you. And when I sat down with him, I explained, Cal, you did this in December. You took out all $250,000 in December. Had you picked up the phone and called me at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, I would have said, hey, okay, you want to do this. I understand why you're doing this, but maybe because we understand the tax ramifications, maybe we split this $250,000 up, some of it this year in December, and then the rest of it January 1st or January 2nd, and then you pay off the mortgage. That way we're spreading out this tax hit over a 2-year period, and we're not paying 28%. We're paying 24%. And if this is the kind of advice that you're looking for, if this is the kind of advice that you feel that you're lacking from your current 401k or your current financial advisor, or your current tax professional for that matter, I encourage you to give us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, and sit down with Mike, myself, Lawrence, Faisal, our team here at ProStatus, and let us provide you with a tax plan for your retirement. 597-1040, 866-597-1040, or the SavvyInvestorRadio.com.
And
Two V's. Two V's.
Two V's on the Savvy Investor. It is probably your biggest retirement asset. Would you not want to give it the best treatment possible? Would you not want to have a great strategy for that 401k? You look at that number right now, it looks pretty good. Let's not get hammered with taxes when we start to use it. Again, find us online at the SavvyInvestorRadio.com. There's a button there that says the tax analysis button. You can do that or schedule an appointment right there, right in the middle of the page. It'll trigger a 15-minute phone conversation. And Ryan, what happens when people call for that conversation? How does that unfold?
Normally what happens, you give us a call. You're going to have a 10 to 15 minute conversation with my staff, just really figuring out what is it that you're truly looking for, and can we really help you with what you want to do?
Are we the right fit for each other?
Are we the right fit? Because, Mike and I are not the right fit for everybody, and everybody's not the right fit for us as a company. We want to make sure that this will be a good relationship for you and your family moving forward, because you become part of our family when you become clients of ProStatus. I always joke that the only time my clients will ever see me in a suit is at their funeral. And even then they're not going to see it, because we are truly with our clients for the long haul. And, it's an unfortunate part of the business when we do have clients pass away. But, those relationships that we build really do last a lifetime here.
And so what ends up happening is, they make the phone call, that conversation to make sure that we're a good fit for each other, because that's important. Mm-hmm. Then we actually just gather some information from you. And we come back with an overview, kind of here's what we see, here's what we think, here's the direction we can go in. And we do some analysis for you, like with the guy we were talking about. One of the things that we discovered in our conversations with him after the fact, unfortunately, is that his interest on his mortgage was 2.75%. And at the time, he was making 8-9% on his investments. So not only did he get whacked on taxes, but he got whacked on the loss of the growth, right? I mean, which was just insane. But we have that conversation. We show you what we can do. We show you what we can think. And then if it makes sense at that point, then we figure out a way to work together. But it starts with that phone call, 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. Give us a call. Sit down with Ryan, myself, and our team. We will show you how to create those income streams. We're going to talk to you about risk. We're going to talk to you about long-term care, fees, estate planning, and taxes. Pick up the phone, 866-597-1040.
If you've saved $500,000 or more for retirement, congratulations. You've done a great job. Let's protect that money. Give us a call, 866-597-1040, or the SavvyInvestorRadio.com. That's two V's on Savvy, the SavvyInvestorRadio.com, and schedule your 15-minute phone conversation today. Mike, Ryan, I'm going to give you the final word for today.
This is Ryan Herbert. Thank you so much for listening to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and podcast.
This is Mike Kinnett. We'll see you, the Savvy Investor, next week.
Advisory services offered through ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, a registered investment advisor. Insurance licensed in Maryland. ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if ProStatus Financial Advisors Group is licensed in your state, please call 410-863-1040. ProStatus Group, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through representatives of ProStatus Financial Advisors Group.